your volume is on the computer, so you need to mute the computer, or you need to turn off your speakers on your computer and listen only through the phone. Oh, how do I do this? If you go to the lower right corner of your screen, there's usually right next to the address a button that'll say headphones, and it'll have a little speaker sound, and you just need to make that go to 0. Were you able to find that?
So that should be on the screen, you know, my Zoom screen, or
Okay,
is it on my computer?
Well, it sounds like the echo has gone away, so maybe you've got it.
Yeah, it's, I can hear you, I can see you.
And we
So
can
I think
hear,
it's working.
and we can hear you.
Okay,
Okay, so I think
All
we're
right.
good.
okay, good.
Okay. Steve, we're ready to start when you are.
Okay,
Okay.
welcome to the
Okay.
Montpelier Design Review Committee meeting for Monday, May the 18th. I will let members and staff introduce themselves. Go right ahead.
It's Eric Gilbertson.
Seth Mitchell.
Liz Prickett,
Martha Smirsky.
Hannah Smith.
And Steve Everett and Meredith.
Yep, Meredith Crandall, staff here in the City Council chambers. Sorry, you can't see my face at the moment.
And Mike Miller, and I'm just going to be trying to help out with some group chats. If there's any issues that come up, you can group chat me, or I will try to reach out to you to try to get you if there's any specific issues that you're having that you need addressed. So just send them my way.
Mike or Meredith.
and Tammy Furry, the recording secretary.
Thanks, Tammy.
You're welcome.
And either Meredith or Mike, do you want to review the remote meeting procedures and process?
Yes, I'll be doing that, Meredith. So for anyone who hasn't attended a remote design review committee meeting yet, due to the state of emergency declared by Governor Scott as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the design review committee is authorized to meet electronically, and there's no physical location for this meeting. In accordance with temporary amendments to the open meeting law, we're providing public access to the meeting by hosting a video conference meeting, including both video and telephone access options through the Zoom meeting access platform. All members of the design review committee have the ability to communicate at the same time during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to listen and, if desired, participate in real time. Everybody who's here can see. I'm just going to pull up my procedures in case there's somebody who's watching on ORCA, so that they can see the link here or the phone number to call in along with the meeting ID and password. So that's in case anybody in the public is watching through ORCA, they can still get to the meeting at this point. We previously gave notice to the public on how to access this meeting on our city website. Again, that's shown here, where you can get a direct link into the meeting. If you have problems with access, you can email the meeting moderator, Mike Miller, at mmiller@montpelier-vt.org. If you're having difficulties while you're accessing the video conference meeting features in Zoom, as Mike said just a couple minutes ago, you can use the chat function to contact Mike and figure out how to fix those issues. So if you are logged into the meeting, and when you first log in, if we don't know who you are, you're going to have an opportunity to tell the moderator which applications you wish to comment on. Everybody that's on right now are applicants, so I know what you want to talk about. When the chair announces the time for public comment on an application arrives, the moderator will unmute members of the public based on the order that you submit your intent to speak on that application. If you're interested in speaking and you did not say that you would like to speak previously, you can raise your hand so that we can see you if you're accessing via video, or you can chat with Mike to let him know that you want to talk on a matter. We'll also have a period where we unmute everybody at the end of an application to make sure that there's not somebody out on the phone that we just haven't been able to reach yet. Once the chair has recognized you to participate, if you're just a member of the public and not an applicant, the moderator will unmute you and will confirm that you can be heard. Then you can provide your questions or comments, aiming to keep their initial comments to 2 minutes. And then the DRC members will have an opportunity to respond to your comment or ask questions of you, and the applicant may also have an opportunity to respond. The chair might grant additional time for speakers who have follow-up questions or comments. Once you're done, your microphone will be muted again. And then the chair will move on to the next person to speak if there is someone who wants to speak. In the event the public for some reason is unable to access this meeting, or we lose access, then the meeting is going to be continued to a time and place certain. Note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by a roll call vote. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Meredith. The next item is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second, Eric.
And you, Eric, you seconded? Did I hear a second?
Yeah, that was Eric.
Martha.
Oh, okay. All in favor, go ahead and speak your approval.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. When approving, we probably should speak our names so that everybody knows who said aye.
Okay.
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 This is Martha. I say aye.
Okay. I think it was
Yeah.
unanimous.
Yeah, at this point, are there any nays?
Nope. So we can go ahead and move to the first application for 72 Berry Street. Steve Ribellini, review moving 2 windows. Steve, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead and describe your proposal.
Okay, those 2 windows you're seeing on the screen now, they're actually both stained glass windows. They're a number of years ago, some work was done in that house to make it 2 apartments before my time of owning it. And those 2 windows were lowered about 3 feet. You can see above the stained glass windows where they were on that back the previous picture, the inside one, you can see where they were right up above. It's just been filled in with fiberglass insulation, and they had lowered the ceiling in there to put in a little half bath there. And we're removing that half bath and then want to put the windows back to the height they were because it's the hallway.
How high up would they be moved? Would they?
About 3 feet, Steve, about 3 feet.
So they would be above the top casing?
Yes, yeah. They would, probably be about where the different color shingles are.
Okay.
And
That's where they were, Steve, right?
where they were. And that picture, we're seeing the porch roof, the arrow's right on the corner of it now. It must be the angle because that porch doesn't stick in front of the windows like that. That porch roof is really beside the left-hand window.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the moving the stained glass windows back up would not interfere with that line of that porch roof?
Right, right.
Can you see the original framing where the location was in the beginning?
Yeah, if you go back to that other shot, which is, I apologize, it's not a good one, but you can see where the trim was. The walls painted green and it was white, or I presume it was either natural or this white trim that's there now. You can see where that was because there's a white area.
Okay,
I think what they did, maybe it was energy conservation or something, or maybe they wanted to be able to see out the bathroom windows. Don't know. I think that work was probably done in the late 50s or the early 60s from what we've been able to figure out.
now if you remove the stained glass windows, will you remove both of those windows, frames and all, and then
Yes,
put clapboards back to the original
yes,
location?
yeah.
And you're putting the stained glass back, right?
Back, we're just raising it up 3 feet, basically. The same frame, same windows.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, or suggestions at this point?
So the
No,
window on the left looks, this is Liz, it looks like it just has clear glass.
It does. We had taken the stained glass out, Liz, just to let a little more light in there while we were working there. And we didn't
Oh,
want
I
it
see.
to get broken. And I said, well, we better take a picture before we take them both out or I won't have any to show.
Okay,
So, yeah. So
Thank
it's there, it looks the same and it's in a closet for safekeeping.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or suggestions?
Not from Eric.
Okay,
no,
then I can go down through the recommendation form. Evaluation criteria, number 1, preservation or reconstruction of the appropriate historic style. This seems like a preservation, certainly. Harmony of exterior design, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed exterior materials, acceptable. Compatibility to your proposed landscaping, none in this application. Prevention of the use of incompatible designs, building, color schemes, or exterior materials, acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, no change or nothing in this application for utilities. Recognition of and respect for view corridors and significant vistas, including gateway views of the city and state house, acceptable. All in favor of the application as proposed, speak your name.
Eric says aye.
Martha says
Liz
aye.
says aye. Liz? Aye.
Hannah says aye.
Is Seth there or no?
Yes, Seth says aye.
Oh, okay. And Steve says aye, so it's unanimous.
Steve, I just have one more quick question.
Sure.
Which side of the building are these windows on? I drove by the building today and I couldn't figure it out.
Well, they're actually on the driveway side. So you'd have to pull into the
Okay.
driveway and just beyond that porch, you'll see them.
Okay, all
So
right, thank you.
they're not on either street side, really.
Uh-huh, okay.
Okay, well, good.
Okay,
Thank you
You're
very
good.
much.
thank you, Steve.
Okay,
Good luck, and good luck
Okay.
with your ongoing work on the building.
okay, thank you. See
Steve,
ya.
hold on one second. I just wanted to
Sure.
let you know, I will be emailing you the recommendation forms once Steve Everett signs them and sends them to me. So I'll
Okay,
email those to you and you can either sign them and scan them back or just send me an email saying that you received the recommendation form and that you're in agreement with it.
okay,
That's all we'll need to do.
all right.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Steve.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. We can move forward to the next application, which is for 5 West Street. Applicant owner Jennifer and Sean Sheehan.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
hello. Go ahead and describe your application for the addition of the dormer to your previously approved project.
Sure. So the dormer, so we were in, may remember us from the from the fall. We came in around the time that we, I guess we closed on the house October 1st, and it needed a roof and returning the garage into an accessory dwelling unit. So we were hoping to get that done before winter, but winter came early, so we didn't get the roof or any parts. And then thinking about it over the winter, we thought, there's all that space up in the attic that isn't used, and we don't have, the ability or funds or anything to now, but obviously changing anything to the roof before you put time to do it. So in thinking about it, we thought about doing two shed dormers, 8-foot wide shed dormers on the back, and trying to match the style generally of the obviously the dormer up front is a lot bigger, but matching the style of windows and yeah, having the dormer there on the back, so they would be the 8-foot wide, and my drawing here didn't have the overhang, but would have the fly rafters, and that was one of the questions I flagged, was the overhangs on the rest of the house, both on the gable ends and the overhangs, and also on the front dormer is 20 inches wide, and that it seemed like going 20 inches wide on a 8-foot dormer would be overkill, since you'd have 8 foot of dormer and 40 inches of overhangs on the left and right. So we were thinking 12-inch overhang on the left and right of the dormer. The windows, I included the specs there, would be similar to the same number of lights there, the 4x2 on each sash, having the mold windows there. The windows on the back of the house and the sides have a rough opening. It's about 3 foot wide by 5 foot tall. So we were going with the mold window there. That would be each one would be 3 foot wide by 5 foot tall to match.
I don't know if there's a picture that shows that there's one in the front already. There isn't one in the back.
Let me see if I can.
Well, it's like the drawing Sean did, but in the front.
Yeah, right on
Oh yeah, you can see
yeah,
it.
the small picture we have there.
Where Meredith is highlighting.
Yeah. So it's just one big shed dormer in the front.
That has windows.
Yeah. And it's on the second story, making the second story big. So this would be up higher, and on the back, and it would be two small shed dormers, but the style would be roughly similar there. And then we would try to match the the soffits as well, with obviously the same paint color that we'd put in in our fall permit, but also soffit is 5 4-inch strips, and we would match the same strips and the same style of the 1x10 on the fascia.
Are these the Marvin clad ultimates, or are they the Integrity wood frame?
They would be the Integrity that are I guess the Elevate is the right. It's the Ultrex on the exterior and the wood on the interior.
Yes.
Yeah. Wood Ultrex.
And again, it's a simulated divided light with the spacer bar.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Does the drawing show exactly how those windows, the new dormers, will relate to the windows below? You know what I mean, as far as spacing goes?
Yeah, they and as of with the current first and second floors don't line up exactly. And these wouldn't either. They would be the two lumped together. The one on the right would be roughly over the second floor window there, and then the inside mold window would be to the inside of that.
So the one that Meredith has the arrow on, so the second floor, you can see clearly the 3 windows on the second floor. And then underneath the porch, there's one that doesn't, yeah, right there, Meredith, you got it. The one on the left there, it goes out a little bit further to the left than the one above it. Then the kitchen window is right below that second one. And then the third one doesn't line up at all because there's a door there into the kitchen off the porch. So that's what Sean was saying, but I don't think you can see the first floor windows very well.
Yeah, so looking at lining them up, we were trying to have roughly the same space as on the front of the house, from the edge of the house over to where the start of the dormer is. It'll roughly match that, which is two bays. You have the end rafter, and then 2 bays, not including the bay between the fly rafter and the end rafter, and then that would be they're 2 foot on center in the existing attic. So we would be tying those, taking up the 3 bays, like the 4 stretches of the rafters for the dormers, and looking at how they would line up on the windows. Yeah, like Jenny said, they would be.
We should have set up in the backyard for this meeting because we could have just turned the computer. We could do that.
So in any case, on the dormer, the outer window of the double will line up with the window below that.
Yeah, and then the other window will be to the inside of that.
You have 2 sets of mold windows, right?
Correct. Right. One
Yeah.
set in each of the dormers.
Yeah.
The dormers don't line up with the windows below that.
No, not exactly. But yeah, as Steve was just saying, that
I don't know how much.
The outside window of the pair of the mold windows, the one on the outside edge will roughly be right over where Meredith has the mouse pointer there, over the second floor window, and then now where she's putting the next the pointer now is where the in that case the left window of the mold unit will be.
I would suggest that if they're not going to line up exactly, I would make sure they're out of alignment enough so it doesn't look like you tried to line them up.
All right.
So having something 4 inches off, I don't know if your placement of your dormers is critical.
Well, the first floor and second floor aren't lined up, and plus also the porch doesn't go the whole length. It's kind of short, or cut short too.
Yeah, I just wanted not looking like you try to line them up and didn't do it right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So the windows are irregular enough on this building that, and also I think it's consistent with the style to not necessarily have everything line up. So
right.
What you can do is you're building this, you can do a mock-up and move your sample back and forth so that you can determine a balance that looks like it's in harmony with the rest of the building on the backside.
Right.
Any other comments, questions, or suggestions?
What are the sizes of the windows on the second floor?
They're roughly, well, the rough opening is about 3 foot by 5 foot, so a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah.
So
3 foot
the
wide.
intention of the dormer windows is to match the relative sizing that you have on the second floor?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the paper doll on the roof that represents the dormer really isn't so much to scale, right?
Where's that?
Right. Yeah. I think.
Seems a lot more squat than the ones below.
Yeah. I had a hard time with that. I think from the perspective of the camera, I tried measuring it out with the paper doll I had there, and when I did it to scale, it made it look like it was going higher than the peak of the back of the house, whereas in actuality it'll be tying in a few feet below the peak, and so that was the trade-off there.
So is the center window on the second floor centered on the building?
I just noticed too that it's a little shorter. That's the bathroom.
Right. Yeah. So that one isn't 3 foot by 5 foot. It's just the one on the left and the right are 3 foot by 5 foot. The bathroom one shorter.
So is that center window actually centered on the building itself?
I believe so. I haven't measured it exactly. I certainly could.
To the eye, it looks, well, actually the left side, it looks like more space to the left of that window than there is to the right, but maybe it's just the angle Sean took the picture.
Yeah, to my eye, it looks like it's centered and then each side window is equidistant. So it appears to have symmetry.
Okay.
To me, I mean, at least.
Yeah.
And to that end, I think it would be better if there's nothing preventing you from reinforcing that symmetry by bringing it into alignment. I think that would really be best. I don't much care for the misalignment. It strikes me as a little bit odd. I understand first floor not being aligned to the second, but they're fairly close in proximity with proposed dormer and second floor. It would seem like you'd want to make an effort to align.
Well, which way would you align? Because I think there's an equal distance from the edge of the roof to the start of each window. Are you saying you'd bring the windows in?
So I guess it's a matter of if that's the case, then the second floor isn't symmetrical, right?
This looks like it's lined up now, that the dormers are lined up over the outside windows, the two windows.
Well, the one on the right looks like it's off center, and then the one on the left looks like it's bowl is centered.
Yeah, that's hard with a perspective to deal with that.
Yeah, I guess it's what is the intent?
Well, I mean, I guess on that was looking from being centered was really starting from the point of the base that would match, and for the picture wasn't lining up. From actually measuring it, it looked like, I think as Steve was saying earlier, relative to the picture here, that these would be squeezed a little bit more towards the squeeze more towards the center a little bit, so that the outside unit of the the mold unit would be over the second floor, and then right, the inside one would be more right over that space. You know, having said that, if we think it would be better to try to line it up with that middle line over the middle of the second floor window, you're saying we could, I guess, mock that up or move, or particularly if I guess there was some leeway between making it either an 8-foot bay or a 10-foot bay. If I think to get it perfectly centered, we may need to go one more bay over to the edge, which would leave just the 2-foot, you know, the 2-foot buffer between the start of the dormer and the edge of the house, plus the 20-inch overhang. I guess it would be a matter, right, of measuring that again, or working with our.
Yeah, I guess.
So the windows are 3 feet. So if you'd need like a 9-foot window width to center it, right?
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean, together they're it'll be a 6-foot wide rough opening, but as far as where those, right, where those bays go within that 8-foot.
But what if you align the jamb, like if you were to justify the jamb of let's talk about the left side. If you take that left jamb for dormer and align it to the left jamb of the second floor window, then you're bringing it in more towards the center.
Right.
And then if you mirrored that to the other side, then they would align, the 3-foots would align up, and then it would just jog over.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we could do that.
That would pull you away from the edge, at least of the roof.
Right. Yeah.
It reinforces that symmetry to some extent.
Yeah. Yep. And better to have that, as you're saying, that better to have the windows line up like that and not have the windows be centered in the dormer. So in other words, thing might have 3 foot on one side and 1 foot on the other. So if we have, I'm sorry, not 3 and 1. I mean, so 6-foot rough opening. So rather than having an even 1 foot on either side of the window. Well, no, I mean of the shape, of the cedar shape, rather than having 1 foot of cedar shape. Well, I guess it'd be even a little bit less than that with the window frame, but that the window, because the dormer will be tied on the rafters that are existing, that are cut out, to make sure that it lines up over the window. We might have
Are you unable to put in new rafters?
Well, I was going to double up the existing rafters and obviously have the new rafters of above on there, but rather than cutting, I guess to minimize the number cut out, was going to double up the existing rafters on the left and right of the dormer there.
Yeah, I guess you don't know what you'll get until you dig into it, right?
Right.
I thought I saw somewhere that the rafters were 20 inches on center.
They're 2 feet on center. Yeah, the 20 inches is the overhang on the soffits and on the fly rafters, but the actual existing rafters are 24 inches on center.
Now, what are they? What, 2x12s?
No, they're actually only 2x6s. It kind of blew me away, but I guess they had good wood back in the day.
Yeah, that's a little light.
Yeah, they're the original two, but so they're the rough cut 2x6s. They're true 2x6s, but they're still just 2x6s, and they're really long too. I mean that full, I don't know if that's 30-foot long. They seem to just be one piece from what I can.
Seems to
Is
me
this
that
space currently unfinished?
Currently unfinished, yes.
Okay.
Well, I should say partially finished. They had started to, previous owner had started to insulate, so it has the baffles. It has the baffles going from the floor level to up about 9 feet high, with insulation over rigid foam insulation over the ventilation baffles, and then above that, so from about 9-10 feet high up to the peak, you can see the rafters.
So from the collar ties.
From the collar ties up, yeah.
Did you consider a single dormer like you've got in the front, a later single dormer?
I think our main reason for not doing that, yeah, is twofold. One, it seemed like it would be a bigger engineering feat, and number two, with the ventilation pipe. I mean, I know we could just extend the ventilation pipe and go up through the existing dormer there, but it's actually a couple ventilation pipes that come up and then tie together. So there'd be probably, right, you can see the one, yeah, so that top one, actually, the very top pipe, right, where Meredith has the pointer now, that's going to be coming out. That's nothing. The former owner had a AGA stove, yeah, and the piping went. So they got rid of that stove and the piping. So that doesn't tie to anything. So we'll be roofing over that. But right, the one where you are now, that's the plumbing ventilation pipe there, and a couple pipes. So from where it is now, and then if you move the pointer to the left, 8 feet or so, yeah, right about there. There's another pipe that comes up, and then they join each other. And so that space, right, I mean, like I said, we could have extended the pipe up and doing that, but it seemed to be making it a bigger project. A lot of, for the front dormer is supported by, I guess it's a different situation in the front because it's over the porch.
I just wanted to ask the question.
Yeah.
So you're kind of restricted to 20-inch leaps as you move it, if you relocate the dormers, right? 24.
Yeah, roughly 2 foot.
Of course, I don't think it would hurt at all to add a rafter at some point in between the 24 inches to support the walls of the dormer.
Right.
You could put that anywhere you wanted to in there. It would cut the 24 inches, at least in that location.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could move it 12 inches and put an extra rafter in.
Okay.
To take care of it.
Right.
That would probably be a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
And
that would be my vote, that it seems a shame to place the dormers, misalign the dormers based on rafter layout, that if you're already in there digging around, to add new rafters that would allow you to place the dormers in a more symmetrical fashion, and support the sidewalls of your dormers possibly better. Seems like a worthy endeavor.
I agree.
Okay. You can do that.
So Seth and Ben, would you want to give them the option of centering the center mullion over the window below it? Or
Yes.
centering the left window of the dormer over the window below it?
I think it makes more sense
I should say not left, but the outside window over the window below it.
I think it makes more sense to bring the outside windows into alignment, because otherwise you're pushing the dormer out too close to the edge of the roof.
Yes, no, I agree.
Okay.
I think that would give the best symmetry if that works for you.
Right, so not doing the center of the mulling over the center of the second window, but rather doing the outside window
The
square
outside
up over
window-
this.
The outside window of the dormer is over the window below it.
Right,
And then the other window of the dormer would be inside of that.
yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And depending on the way they built the house, that might give you a better alignment with your rafter spacing anyway.
Right,
I heard a suggestion of one dormer. And in the front, the dormers don't just stick out by the windows. It goes all the way across. So two of them are actually behind us and then one in our son's room next door. So it could go all the way across, connecting the whole unit together. We could put one small window in the middle. Or not, I don't know. But I hadn't thought of that before until someone suggested the one dormer.
I could see the structural problems with that because you got a lot more span
Yeah.
between.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know
from-
about that stuff, so.
yeah, I was talking to Wolf some on that with the engineering, and yeah, it sounded like with the wider span and that load, it becomes a bigger project.
You can count on Chris Temple to steer you right.
So Seth, you think, make that suggestion that the outside window of the dormer line up with the window below it?
That would be my suggestion, yes.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or suggestions regarding the dormers and the windows?
And then cedar shake,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, cedar shake for the material.
Yes, yeah, same cedar shake, same.
The exterior of the house is a brown cedar shake right now, which would be becoming gray.
Yeah.
Not the rest of the house.
And the roof you'll match.
Right. Yeah, the roof we're having done. So the roof and the painting is what we put the permit in the fall. We have that lined up to be roofed in early July and painted in late July and in August. So this would be done prior to that. So could all be roofed and painted together.
I highly suggest using plenty of water and ice shield on behind the siding as well as under the shingles.
Right. As far as the
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you keep getting cut off. You go.
Okay, I was just kind of curious about the windows, the new windows in the two dormers. Are they about the same size as the windows on the front dormer? You know?
These are all, I've been measuring to get new window shades. They are all 36.
They're the same width.
So they're all the same.
But the living room has these huge windows that are.
Right. Yeah. The first floor windows are
On the front.
are wider on the front, but right, as far as the front dormer, which was your question, that they would be the same size, but they're just single windows, not multiple.
Right.
Yeah, they aren't.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, they aren't double.
Yeah.
I was just wondering the recommendation on because you said there were two options for the width of each dormer, 8 or 10.
Oh no, I think the suggestion they had of right, staying with 8 but moving it if need be was a good one. The question I was going to ask was just about the overhang. They mentioned that it's a 20-inch overhang, and the rest of us we were thinking 12-inch on the left and rights of the dormer here. Although was also told that was something we could kind of look at by an architect, that we could look at in the field too, just to see if more than 12 inches was looking too wide or too heavy. But I didn't know if that was anything that you had thoughts or suggestions on.
If you pull it in and align it, there's probably less of a reason to go with 12, or at least 20 is a safer bet. but I have no objection to either dimension, really. I think what's important is that it scales out appropriately.
Okay.
We could give them the option to go with anywhere between a 12 and a 20-inch overhang.
Okay.
So as you're laying it out, if it looks like 18 is better than 12, you can go with 18
Okay.
or whatever in between.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, suggestions?
None from Eric.
Okay, then I can read down through the recommendation form on this one. Preservation or reconstruction of the appropriate historic style if the proposed projects in the historic district involves an historic structure acceptable. Harmony of exterior design with other properties in the district acceptable. Compatibility of proposed exterior materials acceptable. No landscaping proposed in this application. Prevention of the use of incompatible designs, buildings, color schemes, or exterior materials acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, none applied for in this application. Recognition of and respect for view corridors and significant vistas, including gateway views of the city and state house, acceptable. And then the recommendation was that the suggested placement of the dormers was such that the outer window of each dormer lined up with the window below on the second floor. And then an optional change, the overhang could be anywhere between 12 inches and 20 inches. Based on that, all in favor, speak your name.
Eric.
So
Liz,
Ben,
Martha,
Hannah,
Steve? So it's unanimous.
I have one other suggestion that as you talk to your engineer, ask him about collar ties.
Yeah. Yeah. We had talked to him about that. Yeah, because the collar ties are below where it would be cut. So, right, we are going to look at putting a above.
You didn't say whether it had collar ties in it or not, but it really cuts the span of your rafters. It adds a lot of strength to the roof.
Yeah. Yep.
And this would be the time to do it.
Right.
And again, much of the structural part of this would be inside anyway. So you're free to make it as sturdy as you want.
Right. Great. Well, thank you all.
It's approved, and thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nice to see all of you again.
Great to see you. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, the suggestions are super helpful. Thanks.
Thank you.
I will circulate the recommendations forms for you guys to take a look at, and you can either send back with your signature scanned or just confirm your agreement with the recommendations via email.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank
good night.
Okay.
I want to record her comment for when we come up for review. Your suggestions were super helpful. We got to take note of that.
Okay.
that's been duly noted, Eric.
Thank you, Tammy. Catherine, I can't seem to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
There can. Hi.
Awesome.
We're all Zoom experts by now.
Okay. So, Steve, you're all set to move on?
Yes. We're on to the next application for 180 Main Street. And again, applicant honor is Catherine. Codius, pronounce that for me.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. And describe your fence to us.
Sure. So we came before you before for a privacy fence, in part because our neighboring yard had some like detritus in it that we were hoping not to see anymore when we were in our backyard. But we actually never built the fence and now have reason to fence in the whole backyard so that essentially it's a three-sided fence that connects to the house, so that creating an enclosed area for our dog and future crawling baby. So the fence will be wooden with treated wood so that it, yeah, something like that. Pressure treated pine is what we're thinking will be affordable and aesthetically pleasing, and in concert with some of the fencing projects we've been seeing around the neighborhood lately. And we're going with that, a similar look. I think that we are hoping to have pergola style gates, assuming the committee's, I know, fine with that look. And we're not going to do the dog-eared posts that you can, or not posts, boards that you can see here. I don't think, I just think we'll do straight across. And yeah, so the fence facing Main Street, we're asking for a variance to get it 10% above 4.5. We hear there's precedent for that. And then on the side, we already have the approval, although the design is slightly different in that it's going to be wood instead of white. I think it was vinyl, what we proposed before, but so it'll be 6 feet as a privacy fence looking towards the neighbors, and then the back of the property, which just faces our own driveway and cannot be seen from any street, North Street nor Main, will also be 4.5 with the variance, ideally, if we can get it, just because we have a tall dog, but we'll see what DRB says about that. And trying to think if there are any other details. Oh, that there would be a gate in the front and the back. So you could enter from the driveway side and you could enter from the Main Street side. And I guess I should say, those who are not familiar with our property, we're up on sort of a mounded hill at 180 Main. So we're at the corner of North and Main, and you look up at our house. So the fence will not be right up against Main Street. You have to crane your neck from the sidewalk to see our fence. And because it'll be set back from the hill, it won't leave much of an impression on Main Street passers or a car. I mean, you really wouldn't see it unless you were walking down J Street. And then you would be able to see probably your sight line, like 3/4 or half of the fence. And again, sort of looking up, because we're on sort of this little hill. I hope I did an okay job describing it. I think those are the details. I tried to include some of the trees around in that photo so you could get a picture of what's there. There are hemlocks that line the neighbor's edge and a large crab apple that faces Main Street.
A quick question. Did you consider using cedar rather than treated?
Yeah.
I really hesitate with kids to have treated lumber around.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider untreated pine. I just don't think we can afford cedar. I mean, it would astronomically raise the price of an already expensive fencing project.
It depends on where you get your cedar too. There's a couple of places to get cedar where it's fairly cheap. There's one in Walcott, I believe, and then there's one up in Albany. That's all they do is cedar.
Authentic Log Homes is the name of a good supplier of cedar.
Okay, John Gallup of Gallup Fencing, I believe, is doing the project and suggested it would be significantly more expensive to do the cedar option.
I would check the prices of some of the local suppliers. That's,
Yeah, it depends if you're talking Western red cedar or Eastern white cedar. They're radically different prices, and the Western red is very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between the look of the pine, like that brighter look, versus the the cedar that weathers silver would not be my preference personally. But I mean, I guess it depends on what the committee's thinking, but that silver look, I feel like wouldn't go as well with our house.
But I don't know what's the toxicity level on the treated wood these days, but basically it works because it poisons stuff. So that's not really a design review issue, just a suggestion.
Catherine,
Yes.
this is Meredith. I don't know if you can, I'm sharing a screen. Is this is what your things look like at your property at this point? Can you see?
Yep, just a little more mode.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure that people understood where this bank was so that they'd get a sense.
Yeah, so you can see the corner of the house there, and the fence would begin along the corner of the house, and there'd be a gate, and then it would run along the length of the yard to the corner, almost to that big lilac bush, but not quite. So it's similar actually to the footprint of our house, which is 20 by 40. So it'll be sort of mirror image of the footprint of the home.
Now, was your intention to either leave the fence natural color or to maybe tint it with a stain to make it slightly darker to blend in with your landscape?
We had so far just been thinking about a natural color, but it's just hard for me to envision once it's up there. I mean, I'm not opposed to a stain to help with longevity and definitely with blending, but I don't think I would take it too dark. Yeah.
That treated wood takes paint a lot better after it's sat for a couple of years.
Okay.
There's some really good deck and siding stains that you can slightly tint or darker tint, either, I mean, your option of tinting, that you can get natural colors which look really, really nice. And again, after you leave, if you use pressure treated, you can, certainly the pressure treated that's available now is less toxic than it was 20, 30 years ago. And again, after you leave it for a short period of time, even 60 days or so, it'll take a stain fairly well.
Yep.
And it's
Okay.
it's pretty easy to stain it, and it will last for a long time.
Okay.
So again, that could just be your option. You know, once it's up and you look at it against the house and against the landscaping you have there, you could decide to, at your option, to stain it a little darker color if you thought that would fit in nicer with the site.
Sure, and we could try to match it to the stairs, which eventually need some love as well in terms of a stain, so.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions, or other suggestions?
Nope.
Just one, Catherine, have you been to North Franklin Street and looked at the new fencing behind Hirschlick's house?
Yeah, that's actually the inspiration for.
Yeah, my guess is that's a hemlock.
Oh, interesting.
And that there's pressure treated posts. I mean, pressure treated is valuable when it's in ground contact.
Yeah.
But as far as like, you know, if wood can get the air and it's not just holding moisture, and I'm certain that that's a hemlock that will just doesn't, I don't know that he's going to put a stain or anything on it, but that would be something I would go look at or talk to them. It's a beautiful fence. I think Jacob Rogan did the work there, but it is, that is not a pressure treated material there.
Yeah, okay, I could ask Andrew for sure, and you know, talk to our guy about it. Who did you say did the work there, Ben?
Jacob Rogan.
Okay, cool. Sure, he's got a busy summer, but who knows?
Yeah, but who knows? But it is worth just. I figured that was the one you were referencing, so I know a little bit about that project.
Awesome. Okay.
So, yep.
Any other questions, comments, or suggestions? So again, it looks like you have the options for yourself to use other wood materials for the fencing, whether that be cedar or hemlock or what other materials that might be available that you might prefer for any number of reasons. And you also have the option to stain the fencing after a bit to suit your plan for whatever landscaping or design you want the fence to blend in with.
Awesome. Great.
And I can go down through the criteria for this application as well. Number one, preservation or reconstruction of the appropriate historic style if the proposed projects in the historic district or involves an historic structure, acceptable. Harmony of exterior design with other properties in the district, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed exterior materials, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed landscaping unproposed with this application. Prevention of the use of incompatible designs, buildings, color schemes, or exterior materials, acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, again, no utilities proposed. Recognition of and respect for view corridors and significant vistas, including gateway views of the city and state house, acceptable. All in favor of the application with those options for the applicant? Say your name.
Martha's
Liz
an
says
aye.
aye.
That says aye.
Hannah says aye.
Steve says aye.
Ben says aye.
Awesome, got you all.
Okay, good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So I'll send you I'll send you the recommendation form so you can review and just acknowledge receipt of it and that you agree with the recommendation forms. And then I will see you on June 1st at the DRB hearing.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the May the 4th meeting?
Yes, I'll move it.
Yes.
Eric moved for approval. Do I hear a second?
I second it. This
Oh,
is
okay.
Martha.
Sorry, I couldn't understand.
Who it was?
All in favor of the minutes of May 4th? Say your name.
Aye.
Martha, aye.
Hannah says aye.
Seth, aye.
Liz, aye.
Steve, aye. So the minutes are approved. Any other business to bring up?
I have a question for Meredith. Meredith, usually at the end of our live meetings, you collect all of the materials that we have. What do you want us to do with these written materials?
You can just shred them, recycle them. I collect them and recycle them.
Okay,
So that's the only reason I usually collect them, unless something's been passed around by an applicant, and we're not having to deal with that now. So you can
Okay.
just do whatever you want with any printed materials that you have made.
okay.
Thanks, Martha.
If there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Eric says move.
I second it. This is Martha.
All in favor of adjournment, speak your name.
Eric.
Seth,
Hannah.
Liz,
Martha.
Ben.
Steve? So meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Meredith and Mike for making this work.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much for the
All right.
coaching.
You're welcome, and I will see you all, and hopefully by then you'll be able to see me on June 1st.
Oh,
Okay.
good.